The New York Mets finally get their guy in Pete Alonso. There's so many reactions. John Harper, the guy's over at foul territory. What does this mean for the New York Mets in 2025 and beyond? Are the New York Mets done? I'm going to give you my thoughts plus a lot more next on MetCast. Welcome back to MetCast, friends. As always, I am Rain. If you're enjoying this content, as always, I just ask you to like and subscribe. Tonight, we are going to have a live stream with Pat Ragazzo of SI. So if you're checking this out, and it is Thursday, February 6th, be sure to come by tonight as we'll be breaking everything down live with him, what the next move might be for the New York Mets. Are they done? How's this lineup look? But let's get into things right away. I am so beyond pumped, as you guys saw last night in the live stream, to have Pete Alonso back. It's essentially a one-year contract. That signing bonus up front, he's going to be making $30 million this year, opt out. And until Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signed, he is still a potential for the Mets, but that is down the line. We are focused on today and the now. John Harper over at SNY had some great comments in regard to these negotiations. We'll get to his comments, the guys over at Foul Territory, and I'm going to let you know what I think the New York Mets have to do to put the cherry on top of this offseason. Let's give it a look.
Around this clubhouse since he was a rookie. He bet on himself in 24. It didn't really work out with the season he wanted to have, and that was reflected in the market. He's betting on himself again in 2025. How do you think basically deja vu all over again is going to play out on the mindset of Pete Alonso?
Yeah, I have a feeling he'll be better. Look, he did bet on himself, and he would have, he was looking for big money. We knew that. And he would have certainly got a bigger contract if he had had the kind of year that Judge had when he bet on himself like that. Didn't have.
Judge had an all-time great year. I don't think that's fair to say that, but okay.
Have a great year, but I think now, look, I mean, obviously you can say that the same pressure will be on him to produce, but I think there's a little bit more comfort now. He's got, for one thing, he's got an extra year if he doesn't have a great year, so he's got certainly guaranteed money. And I just think now with Soto in the lineup, he's not going to be the focal point of the lineup. Not quite as much is going to be expected of him. He's got to produce at some point, obviously, but he's not going to be that lineup where everybody looks to Alonso to carry the team.
He better produce. He's making $30 million a year. That's what superstars in Major League Baseball make. He's got to produce like that. And I'm going to say this again. He has Juan Soto hitting in front of him, probably in the 2 or 3 hole, and he's going to be right behind him. So he's going to be coming up with opportunities to drive in runs more now this season than probably ever before. So if he's not going to produce, then you see you later. Even if he opts in, that doesn't preclude us from not putting him in the designated hitter role for just 1 year and bringing in another first baseman. That's why it's a win-win for the Mets.
When you got guys like Soto and Lindor and even Vientos, the way he played. So I think it's a better fit for him now in this lineup. I still think the Mets needed him. That's why I think it was a gamble all along, because I think that lineup would have been light without him for 2025 and maybe even a couple of years after that.
And that's what we got from John Harper of SNY. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you agree with him, if you disagree with him, I love to interact with you guys. You know that as always. Now I want to get to the guys over at Foul Territory. They give their opinions. Remember, they are not Met fans over there. So it's not like SNY who covers the Mets typically in a positive way. Let's take a look.
Fans were pissed. They were like, we want Pete. We want Pete. Remember? And then Steve Cohen's like, we want Pete, but we can't come up to the terms, and we don't think they're fair. It got a little dicey, a little public. The Blue Jays maybe had a chance to swoop in too. And I mean, if they really wanted him, this was very affordable for a dude that could bash 45 homers and help bring a team from non-playoff contention to contention. If it's the Blue Jays, the Mets could be a World Series team, or at least put up a fight against an NLCS team with someone like this. It's a lot of home run power they're adding back.
Yeah, and very much so. And we don't, like, again, we'll know more tomorrow about maybe if the Blue Jays offered, but if this was the case, my goodness, if I'm the Blue Jays sitting there thinking I could have got this guy for 2 years, $54 million. Oh my God, they could have easily done a lot more than that and still been fine with it. Other teams could have done a lot more than that. Not only the Blue Jays.
I think that also speaks to how much Pete Alonso wants to be a New York Met. We saw reports come out from earlier today that supposedly he had more money on the table from other opportunities. I believe it was Toronto, and he turned that down. He wanted to be a New York Met. He also knows the lineup. Let's not pretend. You got Vlad Guerrero Jr. over there and Santander, but Santander's not a great player. Guerrero is. But with the New York Mets, you have guys like potentially Brandon Nimmo maybe hitting in front of him. Juan Soto could be in front or behind him. Mark Vientos, Lindor. You're going to have opportunities to have more guys on base when you come to bat, which will hopefully drive up his RBI numbers, take a little less pressure off of him. He's not the vocal point. He was expected to go to Toronto and be their second best player, and that's clearly not the case here. He's probably their fourth best player behind Vientos, behind Soto, and behind Lindor in this lineup. So that pressure's not going to be there on him.
I think maybe it was one of those things he wanted to come back. I think that's Pete. He didn't want to leave. I think he's comfortable there. It's the best fit for him, don't get me wrong. But man, to think about this, and some owners got to be kicking themselves thinking, oh my God, I could have got a 30+ homer guy, 100 RBI guy for a couple years. And
I don't think anybody else was getting that 2-year offer besides the New York Mets. I think he went to Scott Boras and said, listen, enough. I want to be a Met. I want to be in camp for spring training. I want to know where I'm playing. Enough. That's what I think honestly happened. Because now we saw the reporting, and I'll pull it up in a minute, about what actually happened. And I'll say that for right after this.
He's got an opt-out in 1 year. He would help any team, and the Mets just happen to find a way to get him as usual. This puts the Mets up there again in one of the top teams in the National League.
Now let's take a look at what exactly happened in regard to Pete Alonso and how this all came about. So we have this from Bob Nightingale. The Pete Alonso deal was finalized Wednesday the old-fashioned way with a face-to-face meeting in Tampa with agent Scott Boras, Mets owner Steve Cohen, president of baseball operations David Stearns, and yes, Pete Alonso himself. So there's supposedly owners meetings going on prior to. Steve Cohen flew to Tampa, said, let's get this done with David Stearns, which tells me David Stearns was definitely on board with this. And they did it the old-fashioned way, which is a good thing. It puts good faith into Pete Alonso, makes him the highest AAV this year for first bases. We can hang his hat on that. And that's how things came about. So you're seeing Steve Cohen get involved, but it's not in a meddling type way. He's more of the deal closer on guys that Stearns wants. A Soto situation, the Manaea situation, and now Pete Alonso. But let's give a look at what John Morosi said in regard to this signing. Let's take a look.
What's your thoughts? That night, Matt, and I thought it was a $50 million home run. Like that would be added on to whatever it was. It turns out that even if he picks up the second year of this contract, it's a $54 million contract in total. Essentially, the Mets turned into Juan Soto. They had a real patient at bat this offseason. Pete Alonso, unfortunately, was born at least 10 years too late. Like usually we listen to players are certainly.
We've said that on this channel. The days of guys getting paid for what they've done in the past, those days are over with, especially with a guy like David Stearns at the helm.
Like of Harold's era saying, I wish I was born later. If Pete Alonso was born 10 years earlier, he would have been treated like I remember 25 years ago, the biggest free agent contract of the offseason was Greg Vaughn, who was like Alonso, a one-dimensional power hitter. But in this marketplace, that's not respected anymore. You have to be the total player. Alonso went out into the market, and he's 30. His last 2 years have been his worst years. He turned 30 in December. He doesn't bring a lot on defense. He doesn't bring a lot on base running, and he just could not get the market that I think he expected as the guy who's been short of Aaron Judge, the preeminent home run hitter of the last 6 seasons. And the question then became, could he do a shorter contract for as much money per year as possible? And the Mets waited and waited. And I know I got a lot of friends who are Met fans, and they kept just saying, give him whatever he wants. And
that's ridiculous.
I would just say, well, he hasn't signed any place yet. And the whole industry is saying something out loud about how they value the player, and the Mets are in that group. And I would think have the advantage of, no pun intended, last swing. And
that's our thoughts on with John Morosi. Man, the Mets got a deal here. I'm very excited for this. Very excited. I think that our lineup, if I were to write it out right now, there's two different ways you could do it. You could do it the old-fashioned way, the Nimmo, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos, or you could do it, which most people, I believe, on X think that they're going to do it, and on YouTube. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Give me your lineup configurations. We'll run a few by Pat later tonight, but maybe you do Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos, Nimmo. That's what a lot of people seem to be going at. Maybe you have Alvy right behind him. If he could step up and have a up year like he did during his rookie year, it completely changed this lineup. I keep thinking more and more, and I think I want Nimmo in that 9-hole, that secondary leadoff hitter. But again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. We have some big announcement happening tonight. If you stuck around to the end of this video, please like and subscribe if you're enjoying our content. But we have a big announcement, big things coming to MetCast. I'm very excited for what we're going to announce tonight live on MetCast. Myself, Dan Bartels, Pat Ragazzo of SI. So be sure to stick around, and I will see you guys later. Peace.